pretzel time. We're doing a pretzel review, but before we do that, I want to encourage you to go to coachbrew.com, sign up for the Daily Brew, which is my daily email series. When you do that, you'll get leadership tips to double your results, leadership in business, and you'll also get a complimentary download of my premium monthly newsletter, which is the yesterday's Underdog newsletter, $49 value, and it's a deep dive into a lot of these leadership strategies. Today, we get a business lesson surrounding the pumpkin limited edition. Everything's limited edition when it comes to pumpkin spice. Yogurt pretzels by the Creative Snacks Company. Pumpkin spice and everything nice. Fun fact, the pretzel was invented by an Italian in the 19th century, and this is actually a hard pretzel covered in yogurt. The hard pretzel was invented later in 1850, and I always giggle when I hear the name of this town. I literally just drove through this town last weekend when I was speaking at Alvernia University and Cabrini University. The name of the town is Lititz, Pennsylvania. Or is it Lititz? Anyway, it's also very near Intercourse, Pennsylvania, Blue Ball, Bird in Hand, and Virginville. And I am not making this up. Those are all towns in central Pennsylvania. So anyway, in 1850, the first commercial pretzel bakery opened in Lititz. That's how I'm going to say it's pronounced. Pennsylvania. Became a very popular snack food in the 20th century, particularly in larger cities, particularly amongst the Italian-American population in Philadelphia. And here's the business lesson. Today, Philadelphians eat 12 times more pretzels than the average American. Pennsylvania, in and of itself, consumes 80% of the nation's pretzels. The pretzel industry. In case you're wondering, or maybe thinking about becoming an investor in the pretzel industry, is a $550 million a year industry. That's the same as annually, by the way. And the average American eats more than, is that 1.5 or 15? 1.5 pounds of pretzels each year. So anyway, here's my point with all this about the city of Philadelphia, city of brotherly love, where I just was last weekend, is Philadelphians eat 80% of the pretzels consumed in the United States. That's the 80-20 rule in a nutshell right there, which also was created by an Italian immigrant, or an Italian, I should say, in the, I believe, 17th century. Vilfredo Pareto created the Pareto principle, and that's also commonly known as the 80-20 rule. And what that states, as I open the pumpkin spice yogurt pretzels, what the 80-20 rule states is 80% of your results will come from 20% of your efforts. An example I love to give with organizations when I'm coaching or speaking to different companies is like 80% of your production is going to come from 20% of your sales force. If you have employees, if you're a coach listening to this, you have a roster of student athletes, 80% of your problems are going to come from 20% of your members, your team members. So it's identifying like where you focus your attention and energy to yield the greatest rewards. When you look at like sales strategies, 80% of your revenue is going to come from 20% of your strategies. So focus on the branches of your tree. Is this a metaphor or an analogy? My daughter is filming. Camera person. Is that a metaphor or an analogy when I say focus on the branches of the tree that bear the most fruit, or focus on the trees in your orchard that bear the most fruit and water them? That would be an analogy.
I thought it was a metaphor.
Well, maybe it's a metaphor. I don't know, but I think you're all smart enough to get the point. It's the 80-20 rule, and it's fascinating. 80% of the pretzels in America are eaten by Pennsylvanians. I am a proud Pennsylvanian, even though I'm not from Lititz. Originally from Chambersburg, right down the road. So we're going to try one of these pretzels. And the hard pretzel was invented as a way for them to have a longer shelf life, which is interesting. So basically all it is like a stale pretzel. Is that accurate? I don't know. Let's find out. These are pretty good. I tend to be more of a fan of a chocolate covered pretzel than a yogurt pretzel because I just think there's something to be said for like the salty pretzel and the sweet chocolate. Just the contrast. Contrast is huge with anything. It's a great way to, when you're writing, use of contrast is very attention getting. Contrast with anything. I think our brain is wired to notice contrast. So this is pretty good. I prefer chocolate pretzels to yogurt covered, but as far as yogurt covered pretzels go, plain old vanilla is a little boring. Pumpkin spice is, as the label says, everything nice. It's good. One more bite. It's not overwhelming. It's also not underwhelming. You taste the pretzel, and you taste kind of like the salt in the pretzel. So it's a good blend, and it doesn't overpower. It's balanced. It's fair and balanced, like Fox News. I just probably triggered somebody by saying that. I didn't mean it. It's delicious. Highly recommend it if you're a fan of chocolate or yogurt covered pretzels. Mini pretzels are awesome. I'm going to give this an 8.3. Wondering what it would pair well with. A pumpkin spice latte? No. What would it pair well with, Meredith?
I'm not sure.
She's speechless. Anyway, this is an 8.3. The lesson is the 80-20 rule is alive and well in Lititz, Pennsylvania, and in the pretzel industry in general. The 80-20 rule, whether you realize it or not, is alive and well in your business. 80% of your results are coming from 20% of your workforce, your strategies, your efforts. It's just a matter of figuring out which those are and focusing on them. And then let's take a deeper dive into that real quick. What's the 80% within that 20%? That was deep. Did you catch that? So you got like the 20%. So this is like the first round of it. But then there's like another 80-20 rule within that first set of 20%. Take a deeper dive into that and figure out what really moves the needle. And it's just, more results through less effort. As a society, we're real lazy, so that should resonate with everyone listening and watching this. Anyway, that's the 80-20 rule. This is a pumpkin spice yogurt covered pretzel. It's pretty delicious. And if you want more strategies like the 80-20 rule, which I wrote about extensively in which one of my books, Meredith? Do you remember?
No, I don't.
Okay. So then you're not exactly stadium status if you don't remember.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I wrote about the 80-20 rule. There's a whole chapter devoted to it in my book, Stadium Status. You can go to Stadium Status Book to get that. But seriously, go to CoachBrew.com, sign up for the Daily Brew. Plenty more strategies like that to double your results. And we'll catch you tomorrow. That's a review.